Hi guys, welcome back, Scatlink here, and knowing that the summer 2024 live event is fast approaching for A Hat in Time, I want to cover the March 31st update as it adds some general patches, but more importantly, emblems, on each selectable act in the entire game. This 2024 update was released prior to the 50th Challenge Road's release on April Fool's Day, April 1st, 2024, and will be placed in the playlists accordingly, but due to work, personal and social life plus other projects keeping me busy, I've admittedly been putting this off as it doesn't affect the in-game percentage calculation, and not all acts can have these emblems. So, to start off with the first of the few major features, which is one that we've already noticed during Challenge Road 50, featuring the sole mod level Ultra Silence, is the Speedrun ranking leaderboard system. On any in-game act, Challenge Road, or even on the Death Wish map, you can see how you rank to those who place a time by activating the speedrun timer in the in-game settings, or by how many in-game Death Wish Snatcher stamps or Challenge Road trophies that you have earned in comparison to the others. Keep in mind that any erroneous official Challenge Road trophies, like the two alternate versions of Challenge Road 14 and the alternate version of Challenge Road 29, which can equal to a possible 55 trophies over the official 52. This is how some people are actually ahead above what is already available at maximum. I've kept track and kept on top of these Challenge Roads, so my count is as accurate as of this time. Do note that while using mods, times could be higher than possible with the vanilla game only, because modding is integrated into the main game. Unless the game can check to see if a modded hat or badge was used to achieve an impossible for normal gameplay time, which I believe it doesn't, you could see unusually high times, or some acts with the zero Jumps emblem, which may not be possible outside of mods, like with the Mario wing cap to fly, or with the online party plus to being literally carried by others, unless you use the game's intended mechanics to your benefit, like with glitches, or with the co-op's foot stalling and recoil juggling techniques. That's a perfect segue to the biggest addition to this update, which isn't immediately apparent until you play a normal in-game act. Let's talk about emblems. I would describe these more as check marks or icons. Every in-game act within the game's chapter act select menus all now have a list of icons which you can mark with to track completion. As mentioned, this doesn't affect your save file menu percentage, these are just more for bragging rights. As for the speedrun emblems for each individual act, it's not actually documented, but beelining it to the timepiece will get you the majority of them without high speedrunning knowledge and tricks. There is also ghost data to race against in blue time rifts. If you accept and input your name, you can basically race against yourself to see how well you get through these tiny obstacle courses. Here is a list of all the times in seconds for every act that can reward the speedrunning emblem. This can be accessed within the game's dev console with the code that you see on screen and in the description below. Theoretically, every act could have any and all of these emblems. Zero jumps, speedrun, all rift tokens, all yarn, all pages exclusive to purple rifts, all rift pons exclusive to purple rifts, finding a yellow friend message left from someone on your Steam friend list, or finding a purple developer message left from a developer from Gears for Breakfast. Thankfully there isn't any emblem for one hit hero, but now that I've said that, that could potentially change. Please note that the acts that I have already earned the timepieces for the Zero Jumps Death Wish candle are not marked with the emblem, as these new emblems are only earned now. They don't check previous clears despite having all three stamps for the Zero Jumps candle, which would mean I would already have the Zero Jumps guaranteed for at least Train Rush and any other act that I earn timepieces with the candle active, but I currently don't. This also goes for any purple rifts that I may have already earned all the rift pons and pages from, just like with installing the Diary Plus mod so that Hat Kid's Diary is revamped to not only track every daily entry, but also all story pages collected from the purple time rifts. You must collect the pages and by extension the rift pons again after this update is applied for these emblems to be displayed. These two emblems are obviously exclusive to purple time rifts as main level acts do not have these collectibles. Speaking of collectibles, any act that has access to yarn, rift tokens and by extension relics, as they turn into rift tokens when you have the max amount of relics to fully build all the podiums in the ship, will have the emblem displayed on the act corresponding to the collected timepiece at the time. This is weird in a game like this, as multiple acts can take place within the same maps. For example, any acts with timepieces in Mafia Town, the Moonset, Deadbird Studio, Subcon Forest and Alpine Skyline, the Arctic Cruise and Yakuza Metro, despite having multiple collectibles persisting across the acts, it is essentially a mission select like in Super Mario Sunshine, with exceptions like with the specific blue coins or sub-areas. If all yarn and all Rift tokens are collected across the many acts, all you have to do is to recollect each timepiece for the corresponding emblem to be marked on that specific act. Despite sharing collectibles, the emblem only applies to the timepiece you collected with those conditions met. I feel like these ones should be chapter-wide, not tied to each individual act. Finally, we have the message emblems. This seems superfluous, as when it comes to friend messages, just communicating where you and your Steam friends have left messages would have access to those messages for the emblem to be marked. Same goes for the developer Gears for Breakfast messages, but these are more of an Easter egg hunt more than anything, so it has a bit more worth. At least you can exit back to the hub as soon as you trigger the message display for the emblem to count, unlike the Speedrun Zero Jumps and collectible emblems, but you do need online party related DLC to enable messages as they are tied to the stickers introduced in said DLC. This is either DLC Pack 2, Yakuza Metro, which includes online party, or the online party Steam exclusive DLC, Vanessa's Curse. Here are some screenshots on me finding all the developer message with the corresponding act that it gets marked on. Keep in mind that only one message can exist per map, so a loading screen would indicate a new map. However, not all maps seem to have a developer message to find. For example, despite being able to find the nighttime Mafia Town dev message before entering the Mafia HQ, there is also a dev message under the ice panel inside, allowing you to find either one to get Act 4's developer message emblem. However, both the nighttime and lava-filled Mafia Town developer messages location is the same. Despite this oddity, by this logic, you can find the developer message near the start of Deadbird Studio, which can count for the reward ceremony, since you have to sneak through the main studio before getting to the other maps. However, no other emblems are available for the reward ceremony, as the boss and the associated timepiece are in different loaded maps from the main two levels that contain the Rift tokens and yarn. For the developer message during Murder on the Hour Express, it's not available in Train Rush as it's actually a different map. The Yarn and Rift token emblems do not get applied to Train Rush. However, despite taking my time, I couldn't find a developer message in Train Rush. When it comes to the Moon set, it's the same map in both acts, so the developer message is shared. This has no bearing on the added penguins or audience in the streets. As for Subcon, things get more interesting. The developer message is available in all acts except the Snatcher boss fight, as technically there is no alternative, including near the toilet arena, in the well, or in Vanessa's Manor. The reason is due to the hooks not being available to swing back to Subcon Village, so you can backtrack to the centre of Subcon where the Snatcher's tree is for the said message. The gap is too wide to clear normally, however, thanks to JDWMGB and Mojo on the official Hack Cord, aka the Hacking Time Discord, they taught me how and where to jump using a combination glitch technique involving both the sprint double jump and the No-Bonk slide, two tricks I've previously learned during my mod level showcases of Farewell and No-Bonk surfing respectively, shown in my modding showcasing series Hats Off to You. With this precise jump, we're able to reach the developer message to get the emblem for all Subcon acts. The only exceptions on acts not getting marked is the whole of Alpine except the Birdhouse act, which also acts as fast travel to the Birdhouse. Trying to reach the birdhouse during the illness has spread is impossible due to spores blocking the use of the zipline. This goes the same for the whole of Yakuza Metro, as the main station has no corresponding selectable act to display finding the developer message. Free roam icons on the act select cannot have emblems tied to them. A timepiece must be associated. Due to the Yakuza and invisible void out barriers in the way, you also cannot reach the developer message during rush hour. So one exists, you just can't get an emblem to say you found it. It is worth noting that I haven't shown any of the blue rifts from any of the act menus, as they do not have any developer messages. I also cannot seem to find any information on if there is any to find in any of the purple rifts, other than Deadbird Studio and Mafia Town, as I have already shown. If you can find some, please let me know and I'll sort out an album for a link in the description. They may also be fixed or added in at a later date. Also, since the developers at Gears for Breakfast do play the game, especially during game jams, live streams, and specific events, especially their live events, they could move the developer messages at any time by emoting anywhere. But since this update's launch, these are the locations. And one minor thing, just wearing the Completion Kid's hat now passively tracks each individual money pon to show if you have collected it or not. The update's description reads, "The Completionist Hat highlights collected pons." When I read this, I assumed that it would have highlighted the pons not yet collected in it, maybe a yellow colour or something, but it doesn't visually do that for already collected pons either. Granted, I've collected a ton of pons, but it wasn't very clear. It's not a very noticeable change, as it turns out pons don't highlight at all. It took me a while, but I had to keep swapping hats while staying close to pons to see if there was any visible change. Then I noticed not collected pons shrink in size. I feel it would have made more sense to make the collected pons smaller, or as I originally thought, actually highlight the not collected pons in a coloured hue to stand out more, so you can focus on collecting the pons you missed. But this is how it works at this point in time. It could be changed later on, but again, this is barely an issue. There isn't any emblem tracking for every pon that is collected, or any other reward of any kind, like a timepiece for 100 pons collected. So you can safely ignore this, unless you really want every pon collected in the game. It is a visual change, so that might be something you might want to do. And that is all of the important information I have to share about the latest major update of the game, prior to the summer 2024 live event. Will I be getting every emblem for every act? Not the 0 jumps, as I am not that skilled. I will only get the relevant emblems that I should have for the 0 jumps Death Wish candle if I were to do it today. As for the speedrun emblems, that's if I feel like it, and it will be done in my own time. I would probably be playing through the levels very quickly in order to get the emblems for all Rift tokens and yarn collected, since I have already collected everything. This is a walkthrough after all. Friend messages, I'll need to spend a day or so with my mates to grind that out, and for the dev messages, you've already seen those. Is this all video worthy? Not for me. It's just bragging rights, and not every act can have every emblem anyway. Not every act has a developer message, so it's not possible, despite my skill. Before I end, I'd like to thank these members of the Hat Cord, aka the official Hat in Time community Discord, Hatlag, for the dev console command to pull up the requirements for each speedrun emblem, as well as notifying me that not every act has a developer message to find, despite my best efforts. JDWMGB and Moja for figuring out how to make it back to the rest of Subcon when stuck at the boss arena in Act 6, the Snatcher boss fight, to get to the developer message back at the Snatcher's house with a combo sprint double jump, and No-Bonk slide maneuver to climb up the wall without any mods or with the dev console cheats. And Grass Type Snowy, aka Snowflake, for pointing out the slight physical change to standard monipons when you wear the Completionist Hat, showing you a minute difference as a passive effect on each individual pon that has been previously collected or not. Next time, in the playlists anyway, we return to Suffer in Summer, as more Death Wishes seek to burn us in more officially recognised mod levels. See you guys then!